each weighted differently from most to least. Mission performance, upgradability, sustainment, technical criteria, and capability delivery. And while this information wasn't disclosed to the public at the time, it has since been revealed that the F-35 absolutely dominated the Gripen in each and every category. In mission performance, the F-35 scored a whopping 97% against the Gripen's 22. In upgradability, the F-35 scored a 100% versus the Gripen's 28%. In sustainment, where you might expect the F-35 to fall short of the Gripen, it still won, with an 85% versus Saab's 81%. In technical criteria, the F-35 scored 86% versus the Gripen's 55%. And finally, in capability delivery, the F-35 managed its lowest score of the competition at 67%, but that was still more than enough to beat the Gripen at 50%.
There's been a lot of noise in the debate over Canada's future fighter jet. Lost somewhere in the spin and posturing over jobs and trade are important questions about what each aircraft can do and why. We asked the experts, 2 test pilots, to give us their take, and a former senior Air Force commander. The F-35 is, hands down, the warplane Canada's Air Force wants.
Is it fun to fly?
Yeah, it's a data-gathering spaceship. It goes 1.6 times the speed of sound. It pulls 9G and it slows down and can spiral around down like you see in an air show. You're absolutely King Kong.
Modern combat aircraft rarely change through headline announcements. More often, they evolve through software revisions, subsystem swaps, certification updates, and supplier realignments that appear incremental until the cumulative effect becomes strategically significant. That is the context in which discussions around the Gripen program and Rolls-Royce emerged inside NATO planning circles. What looked like routine modernization began to resemble a deeper rewiring of how the aircraft is supported, integrated, and sustained within allied air forces. The Gripen has always occupied a distinct niche among Western fighters. Designed by Saab, it prioritizes dispersed operations, rapid turnaround, and affordability without abandoning advanced avionics or networked warfare. From the beginning, the aircraft was meant to be adaptable, capable of integrating sensors, weapons, and systems from multiple suppliers. That design philosophy created opportunities for quiet but consequential changes. Rolls-Royce's role in the wider defense aerospace ecosystem is well known, particularly in propulsion, power management, and sustainment. Less visible is how the company's expertise feeds into subsystems beyond the engine itself: thermal management, electrical power generation, digital health monitoring, and life cycle support architectures. These areas matter enormously as fighters become flying data centers. As Gripen variants evolved, especially in export configurations and later upgrades, deeper collaboration with subsystem suppliers became unavoidable. Advanced radars, electronic warfare suites, and data links demand more power, more cooling, and tighter software integration. Each improvement places new demands on the aircraft's internal architecture. It is here that Rolls-Royce's quiet influence became noticeable. Rather than a dramatic engine replacement or publicized overhaul, the changes appeared as incremental enhancements: upgraded power generation modules, refined thermal pathways, improved digital monitoring tools, and sustainment software aligned with NATO maintenance standards. None of these items alone would trigger headlines. Together, they altered how the aircraft behaves in coalition environments. NATO planners are accustomed to interoperability challenges, but they also expect predictability. When a platform as support ecosystem shifts especially toward a supplier with deep ties across multiple allied fleets, it changes assumptions about logistics, maintenance, and operational tempo. Gripen's growing alignment with systems familiar to NATO sustainment planners reduce friction in some areas while introducing new dependencies in others. One reason the shift caught attention is timing. NATO air forces are under pressure to maintain readiness while managing aging fleets and integrating fifth-generation aircraft. Any fourth-plus-generation fighter that suddenly becomes easier to plug into alliance infrastructure commands notice. Gripen's evolution suggested it could do more with less, an attractive proposition for smaller air forces. Rolls-Royce's approach emphasized reliability and predictability. Enhanced health monitoring systems allowed maintainers to anticipate component wear rather than react to failures. Improved power management supported sensor upgrades without extensive airframe modification. These are the kinds of changes that reduce downtime and extend service life, key metrics in NATO readiness planning. From a strategic perspective, the significance lies not in secrecy but in subtlety. There was no single moment when NATO discovered a transformed Gripen. Instead, exercises, evaluations, and joint operations revealed an aircraft that required less bespoke support than expected. For planners accustomed to complex integration timelines, that was noteworthy. The Gripen's ability to operate from dispersed bases and short runways already aligned with NATO's renewed focus on resilience. When combined with streamlined sustainment and compatibility with allied logistics concepts, the aircraft began to look like a force multiplier rather than a niche solution. Rolls-Royce's contributions helped enable that perception by smoothing technical seams that often slow coalition operations. Critically, this was not a unilateral rewrite of the aircraft. Saab retained control of design authority, and national air forces dictated requirements. Rolls-Royce functioned as an enabler, providing mature technologies already proven elsewhere in NATO inventories. That familiarity reduced certification risk and accelerated acceptance. Why, then, did some NATO officials feel caught off guard? Part of the answer lies in expectations. Gripen has often been discussed as an alternative to larger, more expensive fighters, not as a platform capable of quietly matching alliance standards through incremental upgrades. The realization that it could do so without fanfare challenged assumptions. Another factor is transparency. Major acquisition programs involve years of briefings, committees, and public debate. Incremental upgrades, especially those framed as sustainment improvements, attract less scrutiny. When their cumulative impact becomes visible in exercises, it can appear sudden even if each step was documented. The episode also highlights a broader trend in defense aviation, the blurring line between platform and ecosystem. Modern fighters derive much of their value from how easily they integrate into networks of sensors, weapons, and support systems. Rolls-Royce's expertise in digital sustainment and power systems directly supports that integration. For NATO, the lesson is not that it was deceived, but that innovation increasingly occurs below the threshold of major announcements. Alliance planning must account for evolutionary change as much as revolutionary programs. Gripen's quiet upgrades illustrate how smaller platforms can punch above their weight when supported by mature industrial partners. From an industrial standpoint, Rolls-Royce's involvement reinforces the importance of supplier relationships. By aligning Gripen subsystems with technologies already trusted across NATO, the company helped lower barriers to cooperation. That alignment benefits operators by simplifying training, spares, and data sharing. There are also geopolitical implications. As European air forces seek alternatives and complements to US-led programs, platforms that demonstrate high interoperability without prohibitive costs gain attention. Gripen's evolution positions it as a credible option within that space, supported by industrial players embedded across the alliance. Importantly, none of this diminishes the role of other suppliers or suggests exclusivity. The Gripen remains a multi-supplier platform by design. Rolls-Royce's contribution is best understood as a case study in how targeted expertise can reshape perceptions of capability without altering the aircraft's identity. Looking ahead, similar dynamics are likely across NATO fleets. Software-defined systems, digital twins, and predictive maintenance will continue to change how aircraft are evaluated. The surprise will not come from secret deals, but from accumulated advantages realized in operational contexts. In that sense, NATO was not blindsided by deception, but by evolution. The Gripen did not suddenly become something else. It simply matured quietly into a platform that fit alliance needs more closely than many had assumed. Rolls-Royce's role in that maturation exemplifies how modern defense innovation often hides in plain sight. The story serves as a reminder that in contemporary air power, the most consequential changes are often the least dramatic. They happen in code, in cooling ducts, in power margins, and in maintenance data areas rarely visible to the public but critical to readiness. When those elements align, the effect can catch even seasoned planners by surprise. Thanks for watching Alert 360 News, where real stories meet real impact. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, smash that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join the fastest growing news community on YouTube.